Welcome everyone to the reconvened first meeting of the Tararua District Council for this triennium. Congratulations again to councillors on your election and on your swearing in last night. I will start off by opening up with apologies. I have one for Councillor Petty-Webber. Is there any other apologies today? Everyone's here, but no apologies for early departure? No. I'm happy to move Erina Petty-Webber's apology, seconded by the Deputy Mayor. Is there any discussion? All those in favour say aye. Aye. Against? Motion carried. I have not been notified of any items not on the agenda, but does anyone have any items to raise? Appears to be none. Is there any declarations of conflicts of interest for today's meeting? There appears to be none. So we're going to move straight on to the reports, which is on page 3 of your agenda. So I will hand over to our Manager of Democracy Services, Ellie Dunn.
Thank you, Mayor Gilmore. This first report is just a formal recommendation to recognise the appointment of the Deputy Mayor and the process that sits in behind it.
Thank you very much, Ellie. Are there any questions on this report? So last night I used my power under the Local Government Act to formally appoint Deputy Mayor Sharon Wards as Deputy Mayor. If there are no questions in relation to that, I would like to move that appointment. Is there a question or? Seconded by Councillor Johns. Is there any discussion? Appears to be none. All those in favour say aye. Against? Motion carried. Congratulations, Deputy Mayor.
Thank you, Your Worship. It is an honour to walk alongside you and the rest of the team. Thank you.
Now we are moving to our next item of business, which is the adoption of our annual report. So I'd like to call up to the table Tracy, Sarah, Beth and Fiona. As they are coming up, I just want to make a short commentary on the annual report. The annual report is a report of the work of the last council. So the work that the last council completed in the last triennium. It has gone through the Audit and Risk Committee, which was a member of the entire council from the last term, who have agreed with its content. It is really a reflection of the work of the council prior. So I'd like to hand over to Tracy to open up, please.
We're here to adopt the annual report. Good morning, Mayor Scott. Not working? There we go. Oh, you want that one? Okay. Our cunning plan didn't work. Okay. Instead of sharing this everywhere, we were going to do it that way, but that's okay. So, yeah, morning, Mayor Scott, councillors and everyone else. We are here to adopt the 24-25 annual report today. First of all, I'd like to welcome Fiona. Fiona is our Director from Audit New Zealand. She's here to assist us with this formal adoption of the report. We'd also like to take the opportunity to thank Fiona and her team very much for constructively and pleasantly working with TDC through the usual annual process to make sure our report carries integrity and can be released publicly with assurance, and getting us through this report so promptly as well. And on a very timely basis, from what I understand from historical struggles that have gone through council. So everyone working together this year in the complete wider group and through council as well has assisted in us making our official deadlines this year. So to the current council, unfortunately, The adoption of the report is falling into your time, and all the scrutiny over the report and the request for responses from council was from the previous council. So we held a audit and risk committee subcommittee meeting to give you, as new councillors, the assurance that this report had been scrutinised. We have an independent chair that sits in that meeting and runs that meeting, chairs it. So we felt at that point that we had given all due diligence. We'd already worked closely with Audit New Zealand. Audit New Zealand had given a verbal at that meeting saying that the audit was progressing to how they expected it to be progressed, and continued to do so to get us to this point a couple of weeks later. So that meeting was held to give you, each of you, confidence that the income report has been met to the standard that you can feel confident, unfortunately, to sign something you weren't part of, but be part of next year's one in full detail. So we've got Beth, Sarah and Fiona who are going to talk through all the details today. Beth's going to give assurance and oversight of any changes since the last Audit and Risk Committee meeting. Sarah's going to do the overview of the accounting adjustments that have been finalised into final accounts. That's again standard procedure. Audit give us more overview and advice on better ways to classify data in our narratives and so forth. So they're immaterial minor changes, but bring a lot of more kudos to the report that we put out into the public. And Fiona will then give us an overview from the Audit New Zealand perspective. And then we will close and we will pass back to Scott for any questions, which we're happy to take directly through the Mayor. All right, Beth.
Morena koutou. Thank you, Tracy. Before I start, I just want to acknowledge Fiona and her team, as well as the wider council team that you don't see sitting at this table. This is a great moment, and we couldn't have done it without the whole collaboration of the bigger team that was involved. So I'm going to talk to the the significant changes within the published, the draft final, which is going to be published to the website, compared to what was presented to the ARC at the ARC meeting on the 8th of October. So just bearing in mind that at the time of presenting that report, the auditors were only into the first week of their final audit work. So as the final audit progressed, they identified some minor changes which we've incorporated into the final draft, which will be signed and adopted for publishing. So in terms of the minor typographical corrections and presentational changes, these were just in respect to our infographics and how we presented our notes to the final financial statements. Throughout the report, you'll also see on page 165 of the annual report, 165, it may be 164, we had to do a reclassification of our term deposits that we had recognised as a non-current asset, and it got reclassified to a current asset. So no change there, just presentational change, which the impact on that is that it increased our working capital. So in the draft that was presented to the ARC committee, our working capital was showing a negative $4.2 million. With this presentational adjustment, our working capital is reflected as a positive amount. And for those who don't know what working capital is, it just means that if we have any debts that fall due within the next 12 months, we've got sufficient cash to pay those. Next off will be we also incorporated into this document two suggestions from the ARC meeting. So the first one was to include commentary around the that we had done for the district plan review. So that is, you'll find that in the governance report section, which is on page 27. And then we also took feedback around the wording around council's relationship with its iwi partners. So just to better reflect the relationship by just replacing the word governance with a committee, working committee. So those were the those were the typographical and presentational corrections that we've made. In terms of the financial results, which if you move to page 162, you'll see the statement of financial performance. As mentioned at the ARC meeting, the auditors identified some vested assets that we needed to recognise, so we've incorporated that into this draft. So that has slightly increased our operating surplus. What wasn't identified at the time of presenting the last report, which the auditors have picked up throughout their review process, is that when they were looking at our invoices received after the 30th of June, and in correlation with some documents that was associated to that invoice and discussions with the council team, it was determined that we needed to recognise some capital expenditure as an accrued liability in the accounts. So that has increased our current liabilities. It has no impact on our working capital, but on the other side, it has also increased our assets because our fixed assets has then increased. So that is that for me. Now I will hand over to Sarah.
Good morning, Your Worship and councillors. I'm just going to talk through the documents that I've placed on your desk this morning. The first document that you have there is a representation letter. This is a formal letter that we received from Audit Director on behalf of the Auditor General that states that our financials are materially correct. Effectively was what it's saying. It does, on the last page, I'm going to page number 7, Appendix 1, it does have uncorrected misstatements. So I just want to talk through what these are, how they've come to be, just so that you understand why they're uncorrected and what sort of is happening here. The first one is for 5.7 million if we round it up. Although in the scheme of that number it is significant for every Joe Blogs, I would say, but in council's balance sheet, when you have a $1.3 billion balance sheet, it's pretty insignificant in that regard. What this actually relates to is the land and buildings revaluation from 2023, where audit and council disagreed around park assets and whether they had been correctly reflected. Council's opinion is that they were correctly reflected, but we weren't able to provide such evidence to audit in a time for us to adopt that annual report. So that has remained on our uncorrected misstatement schedule since 2023. We are scheduled to do a land and building revaluation in this current financial year, so hoping to clear up this matter when we get to the 25-26 annual report. The next item you see there, number 2. This is also from, I think it goes back to 2021 actually. This one is around the community loan that council made for Pukaha Mount Bruce. For accounting treatment, we should be recognising this asset on our books at fair value, which means we're applying a discounting accounting journal to it to reflect use of money, I guess, over the life of the loan. We, as council, just didn't think it truly reflected the value of what that asset was, as it would give the illusion to the community we're expecting less than $1 million repaid, and really just wanted to reinforce that that's not our expectation. So we've left the loan on our books as the $1 million, so that's what that is. You will continually see this until such time as that loan is repaid. The last item, number 3, is a new item that cropped up end of last week, I think it was, as part of the audit process. What we have done is, as part of the Better Off funding, we've spent quite a significant amount of time digitising our building records and prep for moving to an online sort of system at some point. We had classified that as a capital project, given it's a record, it's an asset. Upon discussions with audit and audit's technical advice that they've received, it should be an operational project because the records already are an asset, it's just changing the form of them. So in the 25-26 year, we will be removing them from our fixed assets and recognising the write-off of it effectively to operations. So we were not able to get this processed through the system in time for adoption today, so that is why it is on the uncorrected misstatement schedule. Another item that cropped up end of last week with audit is reflected in the governance report. This is the second document that I have given you. It looks like this. I just want to draw your attention to the last page. Councillor Johns, I hope you're very pleased with the district plan addition in there. That's not what I'm drawing your attention to though. The item I'm going to draw your attention to is the audit finding. So as part of the 2024-25 audit process, the team go through and assess all of our transactions in quite a lot of detail. They take it back to our resolutions that were adopted to make sure what we have done is correct. Unfortunately, in the final rating resolution that was adopted in the long-term plan, we have made a typographical error where an administrative charge for our extraordinary water users, which just want to put a quantity on that, we have 600 approximately. We have charged an administrative charge which was not reflected in our rates resolution. It was reflected in our fees and charges. However, the rates resolution is the presiding document, so we will be going through the process of reissuing invoices. It's not approximately, I can tell you exactly. It is $80 for each of those 600 users of the extraordinary water meters. So we'll be looking to rectify that in the coming weeks, months. I'm not sure how long this process will take. We're working through that and we'll come back with more information. So just wanting to draw your attention because that's not in the document that was online that you are seeing, and needing you to be aware that this is a finding from the auditors. Just before I close out and hand over to Fiona to discuss the audit opinion, and she'll probably make further comment on the letter of representation because I've not really highlighted all of her wonderful stuff. I just, as Beth and Tracy have said, can't thank audit enough. There's a lot of hours that go into this report over and above what you see in the 8 till 5 schedule. That's from my team and from her team. And I just really want to point out that the last time Council was able to adopt an annual report and the statutory deadline of 31 October was 2019. So this is a significant achievement for audit and for our team. We have come so far in the last couple of years would be my comment, and I know we've sung the praises of the team through each of the meetings the annual reports come to, but I just can't thank everyone enough, and just really wanted to make sure that that was publicly known. Fiona.
She's just stolen my thunder because I was also going to say the same thing. It is a significant achievement, and I think I was saying to Beth when I came here, we have an internal thing that we do at audit where we say what's our risks on any individual audit, and I'll be honest, that was a risk for this audit because it was last year you adopted on the 18th of December, and it was like, can we do this? We put a good process in last year that's paid off, and we were able to get there this year, and as with all audits, there's going to be improvements and processes going forward, but I can't overstate how significant an achievement that is for this year. There will be councils that won't meet the statutory deadline this year, but so from my perspective, it's very well done, and I can't thank the staff enough for the support to the audit team and putting up with the last minute questions and changes and discussions, and I know everybody was a bit tired at the end, but so it was a very, very good process. The letter of representation is actually your representation to the audit team or the auditor that there is nothing that you're aware of, that you're happy with the information provided, and the accounting of that
accounting treatments for that information. I'm really pleased to present my audit opinion, which will be adopted along with the annual report. It's an unmodified audit opinion, so that means there's no significant issues, nothing that breached what we have called as our materiality, so you haven't got an uncorrected error which is above that threshold. It does contain an emphasis of matter, and an emphasis of matter, all that is drawing the reader's attention to some specific items within your annual report, and in this case it relates to the local waters done well note disclosures, which just go into some of the uncertainties around that in terms of financial impacts, because it's almost impossible to know exactly what they are going to be at this point in time, and also to the uncertainty, and hopefully that hasn't changed, Peter, that the local secretary is yet to formally accept your water services plan. So that's just saying there's just a little bit of uncertainty around that. So that's all that the emphasis of matter relates to. There's nothing wrong with your accounts, there's nothing wrong with your performance measures. It's just purely to draw the reader's attention to that uncertainty, and it's a big significant thing going forward for council and a lot of councils around the country, and all councils have some form of emphasis of matter in their audit reports for this year, and will continue to do so next year as well, I think. Yeah, yes, that's from me.
That's it?
First of all, before I open up for questions, Tracy, Sarah and Beth, thank you very much for all of the work that you've put in. It is hugely significant. Fiona, thank you for the work that you do as well. Having that independent audit can give our community and us as governors assurance of the information that's been provided. So we are very grateful for that. I think being able to adopt this today, should we adopt this today, is a significant achievement that the team and audit should be very proud of. And having an unmodified opinion is also a great achievement, and one that not every council achieves. So now I would like to open up for any questions. Cool. I'll go to Councillor Naylor first.
Thank you. I did read all your reports, and then I just noticed one slight error in the cross-references of, I think it was Beth's report. Section 5, you had explanation for movements can be found in note 37. It was actually note 38, so you've probably already seen that, but I just let you know that I did read it and spot it. So
very good, Councillor Naylor. Recommendation 1.2, when we get to it, will give us the opportunity to fix little things like that. So well spotted. Councillor Tawaka.
Tēnā koe me Scott and tēnā koutou. I just wanted to ask a question about the first kōrero around significant changes and the wording in reference to the iwi and the change from governance to committee. Is that correct? Are you able to explain what this wording change means and just a little bit more about that?
Through your worship, it's actually reflected on the governance report handout that I have given to you, and it is on page 26, and it's working groups with iwi. So what was previously stated was that we had committees with iwi, which we did previously establish back in 2021. However, they weren't operating in the year of the annual report. We had working groups. So just changing the wording around governance because that committee wasn't meeting during that time. So just reinforcing the collaboration and the wonderful work we've done with our working groups with our iwi. So wanting to highlight that, but reflect that it wasn't the governance level.
Deputy Mayor.
Thank you, Your Worship. I did have two questions directed through the chair to you, Fiona. Thank you for joining us today. You've already answered one of them, but it does go to my next question around the section that's been included around the audit findings and the rates resolution invoice. what would have to be significant for you to have found enough changes to have raised it to a level where we would be having a modified report rather than what gets it to that level where, based on the draft and then the final adoption, what factors do you consider that goes from to Thank you.
So there's a in the audit plan that we sent out at the beginning of the audit, there's a materiality level, and I'm off the top of my head, I can't remember exactly what it is, but we have a threshold, and once a matter gets beyond that threshold, we call it a performance materiality. If it's not corrected, then that would then trigger a process of why it's not corrected, and what the impact is on the financial statements to the reader, and that might result in a qualification if it wasn't corrected, if it's so significant. The other area which has been quite common recently amongst a lot of councils around performance measures. There has been a lot of issues with systems and processes behind the reporting of performance measures, and quite often when an issue is identified, nobody can go back in time and get the right information because it wasn't captured. So therefore there would be some qualification around those particular performance measures, and that you'll see probably quite a few councils audit opinions around the country. That is probably the most typical one at the moment. Yeah.
Thank you, Fiona. Supplementary to that, so it can be a mix of financial threshold as well as performance measure threshold. Thank you.
Are there any further questions? Okay. Could I please get someone to move the recommendations that are on page 7 of your agenda? They are moved by Councillor Johns. A seconder, please. Councillor Corlett. Is there any discussion? Councillor Johns.
Just in moving the motion, Your Worship, I'd just like to concur with the comments you made about the team and the work they've done. Well done, congratulations. I think this year was the first year that, since I've been on council, that we've achieved that goal of getting it done in time and without issue. So thank you.
Thank you very much for those comments, Councillor Johns. Everyone at the table should be very, very proud of their achievements. Once again, I want to reiterate our thanks for having this brought before us. I want to thank you for getting it to the state that it would be an unmodified opinion. And Fiona, to yourself and to your team, thank you as well for all your work. I will put the motion. All those in favour, please say aye. Aye. Against? Motion is carried. Congratulations and thank you. Now we are moving on to page 19 of our agenda, and this is item 9.3, and I'll hand back over to our our Manager of Democracy Services, Ellie Dunn.
Thank you, Mayor Scott. This first item on the matter on the agenda relates to one of the items that we're required to address at your first meeting of the Triennium. And this one is to provide a general explanation of legislation that affects members. So in the report, you'll notice that we've highlighted a few acts that affect you and that you do need to be aware of. I'll only just speak briefly to each one because you would have read through all the details in there. One of the bits I'd like to highlight with Lagoima is the importance of your correspondence, noting that any correspondence relating to council can be discovered through a Lagoima request, even if you were to use your personal devices like your own home computer or your cell phones. They are discoverable if it relates to a council matter. So just to be aware of like your correspondence, because there are examples around the country where people have been embarrassed by matters that have been discovered through Lagoima requests. The next, I'll just get this to move. The next one I wanted to highlight was the Local Authorities Members' Interest Act. Now this one is all about declaring if you've got any conflicts of interest on matters before the council, because you can't be have a pecuniary interest or be biased in any way about any matter before the council. So if you were, you'd need to declare an interest, take no part in the discussion and not vote on that matter. I will be providing of information about the Register of Pecuniary Interests that we have to publish every year, and you'll have forms to fill out and get back to me as the Registrar of Pecuniary Interest, and we publish these on our website each year so that there's full transparency of what each member has as interests. So this could be membership of clubs, it can be property that you own, those sorts of things. They're all declared through that register, and it's similar, works similar to the one that Parliament runs, and it's been based on those lines. I won't go through the Crimes Act or Secret Commissions Act or Financial Markets Conduct Act, and the next one on the list was Health and Safety at Work Act. Now there will be a full briefing provided separately on that, so I won't go into that one. And then the Public Records Act, we are required to keep full records of anything to do with council matters. So if you are corresponding with people relating to a council matter, it would be really great if you could just copy us in so we could put that into our records management system and appropriately look after that correspondence. And one of the other things in there is the Contract and Commercial Law Act that enables us to not have to retain our records in paper form. We keep all of our records in electronic form as our records management system meets the requirements of the Chief Archivist for that matter. So happy to answer any questions if anybody has any.
Thank you very much for that, Ali. Are there any questions? Appears to be none. Very comprehensive. Could I get someone to please move recommendation 1.1? Councillor Wallace, seconded the Deputy Mayor. Is there any further discussion? Appears to be none. All those in favour say aye. Aye. Against? Motion is carried. Thank you, Ali. Now we are moving on to page 29 of your agenda, item 9.4, and I will hand back to the Manager of Democracy Services, Ali Dunn.
Thank you again, Mayor Scott. This is another item that we're required to address at our first triennial meeting. We need to set the date for our first ordinary meeting of council. And as you can see in the recommendation, we're recommending that that be on Wednesday, the 12th of November.
Thank you very much for that. I'll just double check first that there isn't any questions. No. So the Deputy Mayor has moved. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Amboy. Is there any discussion? I just have a couple of quick comments on this. It's noting that this is setting the date of our first meeting. As a council, we will have some further discussions about suitable meeting dates and times that work for us all. So I just want to be clear that this doesn't set it in stone for us. It's really just making sure we have that first one in the books. Is there any further discussion? In that case, I will put the motion. All those in favour, please say aye. Aye. Against? Motion is carried. Thank you, team. Now we're moving on to page 31. This is item 9.5, and I'm going to hand over again to the Manager of Democracy Services, Ali Dunn.
Thank you. This item is about adopting an updated set of standing orders. The last standing orders we had were ones that were adopted in 2019. There's been quite a few tweaks to legislation made in the intervening years, and so as our standing orders must always reflect the legislation that standing orders contains, it's appropriate to make an updated copy and adopt those. The standing orders have also been, there's been some wording tweaks to sort of make it easier to understand rather than writing all the things in legislation speak, just copying and pasting from legislation. There's been an attempt to a bit more plain English, a lot of the requirements in there.
Thanks very much for that, Ali. Are there any questions? Appears to be none. Could I get someone to move? Councillor Corlett, seconded by Councillor Johns. Is there any discussion? Excellent. I will put the motion. All those in favour say aye. Against? Motion is carried. Thank you, team. Sorry, just run to my agenda. So we move now on to item 10, which is Mayoral matters. For future council meetings, I intend for this to be more fulsome, where there will be a written report provided to council. But I do want to just again offer my congratulations to the team. I also want to express my thanks to the staff of the Tararua District Council for all the work that they do, particularly through election periods that can be challenging, but we are all grateful for your professionalism and for your work setting us up for success, so we can do the best that we can for the residents of our district. So thank you all very much. With that being the last matter, there were no items not on the agenda, so I formally declare our first meeting closed. Thank you.